Two guys walked into a writer's room. One would go on to win an Oscar for making the scariest film in a decade. The other would become one of the most versatile actors working today. But before any of that happened, they had to figure out one thing first. How do you take over comedy in an era where everyone is already trying to do exactly that? They did it. And the blueprint they used still matters. Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele did not arrive fully formed. They came up the hard way, through the Improv pipeline at Second City in Chicago, the same institution that trained Bill Murray, Tina Fey, and Stephen Colbert. Second City runs on one principle: yes, and. You accept whatever your partner gives you, and you build on it. That rule sounds simple. In practice, it rewires how two people think together. It teaches performers to stop protecting their own ideas and start serving the scene instead. That shift from individual performance to collaborative instinct is harder to develop than any single technical skill. By the time Key and Peele landed on MADtv, that rewiring was already complete. They did not perform alongside each other. They thought alongside each other. MADtv is where most people forget they started. The show ran for 14 seasons on Fox as a rougher, more chaotic alternative to Saturday Night Live. It was not prestigious, it was not particularly beloved by critics, but it was a pressure cooker, and pressure cookers build certain kinds of performers. Key and Peele spent years there developing characters, testing timing, and discovering something that very few comedic duos ever find. Neither of them had to be the funny one. Both of them could hold the scene, drive the joke, or play it completely straight, depending on what the sketch needed. That flexibility was not a trick. It was structural. It meant their material could go anywhere, and it meant neither performer was ever a ceiling for the other. When Comedy Central gave them their own show in 2012, that flexibility became a weapon. The writing on Key and Peele operated at two levels simultaneously. On the surface, sketches like Substitute Teacher or East-West College Bowl were absurdist, fast, and endlessly rewatchable. Underneath, they were doing something more precise. They were using comedy as a delivery system for social observation. The Substitute Teacher sketch is not just about mispronounced names. It is about the friction between institutional authority and cultural identity, wrapped in escalating absurdity until the premise collapses into something genuinely strange. That is a specific skill. Most sketch shows pick one register and stay there. Key and Peele moved between registers within a single sketch without losing the audience. Luther, Obama's anger translator, is the clearest example of that skill. The premise sounds simple. Obama speaks diplomatically, and Luther says what Obama is actually feeling. But the reason it worked, the reason it resonated beyond just being funny, is that it gave a mainstream audience a framework for understanding a specific, complicated emotional reality. Satire that precise does not happen by accident. It happens because the writer's room was asking harder questions than most comedy writers' rooms were willing to ask. They were not writing jokes and then finding meaning in them afterward. They started with the observation and then engineered the joke to carry it. The production quality matched the writing ambition. Each sketch was shot on a proper budget with real locations, real costumes, and real cinematography. That mattered more than people realized at the time. When a sketch looks like a film, audiences unconsciously give it more patience and more attention. The production design was not decoration. It was an argument that the material deserved to be taken seriously. If you are watching this and you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe now. This channel breaks down exactly how moments like this actually got built. The writing alone would not have been enough. Key and Peele launched their Comedy Central show in 2012, which was also the moment YouTube stopped being a hobby and started becoming a distribution infrastructure. They understood this before most television producers did. Their sketches were self-contained, usually under 5 minutes, and structured around a single escalating premise with a payoff at the end. That is not a coincidence. That is a format built for sharing. East-West College Bowl reached audiences who had never watched a single episode of their show. Substitute teacher became a classroom reference point. These were not clips that people watched once. They were clips people sent to someone else and then watched again when that person responded. This changed the math on what a sketch comedy show could do. Traditional television measures success in overnight ratings and weekly viewership. KeyAndPeele built a secondary audience that was sometimes larger than the primary one, and that audience was global, engaged, and not going anywhere. A sketch from season 2 could go viral during season 4. The material had a shelf life that no cable show had really experienced before. They were not just making television, they were manufacturing cultural artifacts with independent circulation. The numbers eventually became impossible to ignore. Individual sketches accumulated hundreds of millions of views. Comedy Central's YouTube channel became one of the most subscribed channels on the platform, driven almost entirely by Key and Peele clips. Other networks and studios watched this happen and started reverse engineering it. The format Key and Peele had pioneered became a template. By the time the show ended in 2015, the impact was not just cultural, it was structural. Key and Peele demonstrated that sketch comedy could be both critically serious and commercially dominant, that the two were not in conflict. Shows that came after them inherited that assumption. The bar for what sketch comedy was supposed to do had moved, and it did not move back. Their individual careers make the point even more directly. Keegan-Michael Key moved into film and theater and earned an Emmy nomination for his work in Schmigadoon. He has played dramatic roles, comedic leads, voice work, and Broadway productions. The range is not accidental. It is the direct output of years of training that required him to be everything the scene needed, rather than just one thing. Jordan Peele made Get Out, then Us, then Nope. Those films are not comedies, but they use exactly the same tools that made the sketch show work. They build a surface that feels familiar, and then use that familiarity to deliver something the audience was not expecting. The satire is still there. The social observation is still there. The genre just changed. Hollywood had to build a new category to describe what he was making, and that category is still being defined. That is what a real takeover looks like. Not just winning inside the existing rules, changing what the rules are. Key and Peele did not get lucky with chemistry. They built it. They did not stumble into the YouTube moment. They recognized it and formatted their work accordingly. They did not write jokes. They wrote arguments disguised as jokes. Every piece of that was intentional, and every piece of it is still visible in the work that came after them. The question now is what you do with the blueprint,